Councilmember Jason Dozier. And I believe I saw Councilwoman Norwood running around. I'm not sure if she's going to stay with us today or not, but we have a quorum and excited to get going. Our first order of business is item C on the agenda, to adopt the agenda. Could I get a motion to do so?
Second.
Motion by Juan, second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Our next order of business is approval of the minutes. Could I get a motion to approve by Juan? Could I get a second by Dozier? Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 4 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
We'll now move to public comment. Mr. Johnson, I don't yet see a list of folks who have signed up on my screen.
We have 9 people speaking for public comment. The first one is Alan Vela.
Is it too late for folks to sign up, or no? Okay. I'm sorry? Yeah, we're going to make sure they send it. Yeah. And we're joined by Councilmember Marcy Collier Overstreet. Welcome, Ms. Overstreet. Yep. Good afternoon. The floor is yours, Mr. Vela.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. My name is Emily.
Oh, here. Oh, it's on me. All right. Ms. Brooks is looking out for you. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, we'll reset it. You'll get your full minutes as well, Ms. Brooks.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Alan Vela. I'm the president and CEO of the Fox Theater. I'm here today regarding Ordinance 22-0-1314, the proposed temporary closure of Peachtree Street to host Streets Alive. The Fox Theater wishes to be a good corporate citizen and cooperate with the city and other community groups whenever possible. And though we applaud the City Council's desire to create a safe and enjoyable event, the routine monthly closure of Peachtree Street would be very harmful and have a harmful impact not only in our business, but our guests, our employees, and the businesses that rely on us. The timing of this proposal is troubling for the Fox Theater, a 501c3 nonprofit. We're still recovering from an 18-month shutdown due to the pandemic where we weren't able to operate. Sundays are one of the more desirable days of the week for attending performances, and these performances are scheduled oftentimes weeks to years in advance. We average every year between 47 and 50 performances on Sundays alone, often 2 shows per day. The Fox Theater is already contractually obligated for numerous events on Sundays in 2023 and 2024 with little to no ability to reschedule, particularly in the Broadway realm. The timing of the proposed Streets Alive, which is 2 to 6 p.m., is challenging for us. This will directly conflict with our Broadway performance schedule, which takes place at 1 p.m. and 6:30 p.m., with doors opening 60 to 90 minutes in advance for our guests to arrive. Streets Alive in its timing will impede our patrons' ability to access the theater, the parking lots, and patronize the local restaurants and bars that rely on our business that we generate. This ordinance could lead to a loss of up to 10% of the theater's events, and we're very concerned that many of these events will choose to go to competing venues around metropolitan and Atlanta, and could lead to as much as $1 million in lost revenue for us. In the past, the Fox Eaters cooperated with and participated in Streets Alive, and we wish to do so in the future, but only with a sensible plan for the Atlanta Bicycle Coalition's program. Therefore, we respectfully submit that if Streets Alive event must take place on Peachtree Street, it does so quarterly, and we recommend impacted businesses, households, and community groups are consulted in advance to avoid conflict and detrimental impacts before passing the ordinance and establishing a schedule. So on the remaining Sundays, we also suggest that the event consider rotating to different areas of the city so cyclists can experience a variety of Atlanta neighborhoods. So thank you very much all for your service and your cooperation in allowing me to speak today. Thank you.
Mr. Abdi.
My name is Amullah Kim. Good morning, everyone. My name is Amullah Kim. I would like to give my minutes to my friends, Sufyan Ahmed.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Abdi. His name is Abdi. My name is Sufyan Ahmed.
Okay, I don't see in the list, but we'll combine your two comments, so you'll have 6 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Abdi Sufyan Ahmed, Atlanta taxi driver at the airport. I'm here today to discuss with you guys how much problem we're facing with this car age requirement at the airports. This car age requirement was passed back 4 years ago. Since then, it just became very hard and burdenship to our financially to afford to buy a car every 2-3 years. By the time we buy a car, for example, and we drive it for 3-4 years, we have to come up with a newer car because the car age requirement, 7 years, will not allow us to drive any more than that. Therefore, it used to be 10 years car age limit at the airport and everywhere else. The problem with this is, when this situation came up, we had like 1,600 taxi drivers. Almost over 1,000 lost their jobs because they couldn't afford to buy a car. Think about it. I will go out there and buy a car. I cannot afford to buy a brand new car, given the potential income that supports that purchase. So when I buy the car, before I even finish the financing part of this car, I'm required to throw it away and bring another car. So guess what? What I will do? What I can afford is go out there and go to auction to buy a car. What kind of car you get from the auction? A very broken apart car. The reason why I'm getting that is because it's cheaper. When I fix that car and make it very well conditioned and start running good, I'm also asked to throw it away and buy another car. So we're asking you to repeal the 7-year car age limit at the airport and replace it with what it was 10 years before the requirement was passed. The 10 years will give us time to get ready for purchasing newer cars. Please, we kindly request from you to consider our problem. Thank you for you gave us this year for 10 years, but only it ends by December. By December, I'm out. I'm jobless. I have to come up with a new car. Think about it. Please help the taxi drivers. What we left with is like 400, less than 400 taxi drivers at the airport. If we have to apply this requirement now, by December, you are losing like 300 taxi drivers. Almost nobody will be left at the airport to drive taxis, except other ride shares. So we kindly ask you to consider our problem, vote on it, and make it 10 years. We will be glad to see that. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Ms. Evelyn McGuire.
Good morning to the Honorable Faroki and council members. I am a resident at 135 Peyton Road in Atlanta, and if I would be able to pass these papers around for the council members to see, please. I'm here, and I thank Council Member Boone for putting this on the agenda today to hopefully help make Peyton Road in southwest Atlanta and Cotivo Drive more safe. I have been a resident for 23 years, and I have had a total of 11 accidents on my property. You will see there are only 6 exhibits of the 11. One of them is where cars have gone into my yard, and they have damaged 3 fountains that had to be replaced. I have 8 brick mailboxes that have been damaged by cars. And if you take a look, you'll see just the extent of the damages. I've even had to have boulders put on my property to keep the cars from coming up and damaging mailbox, fountain, everything in my yard. So I'm here to please ask you to approve our request through Councilman Boone for us to please have a all-way stop sign at Peyton Road and Cotivo. We have neighbors that live on Cotivo that can hardly get out to turn left in order to leave their homes. For me, I've had just major damages, and I've been there 23 years, and to have had 11 incidents is quite a bit much. So I'm asking, please, if you all would accommodate us, not just me, and we would have more people here, but we're an older community. A lot of people could not come to represent the Shelley Peyton neighborhood, but I'm here and we have others, and we hope you will please give us time. Give the time to install a all-way stop sign at Peyton and Cotivo. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. Mr. Chris Lloyd. Ms. Chris Lloyd, apologies, my apologies.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm just going to add to the comments given by Mrs.
You mind? Yeah.
I'm just simply going to add to the comments given by Mrs. Griffin. She's speaking about a specific point on Peyton Road at Cotivo and Peyton. I'm going to talk about Peyton Road in general, and specifically Kelso and Peyton. There is a traffic stop sign there, but it is constantly ignored. Speeding is an issue on Peyton Road, and we have complained. We have had cooperation from Zone 4's commander in order to try to alleviate the problem of drivers running the stop sign. Something drastic is going to happen. I have been emailing various members of council and the transportation commissioner in order to seek some assistance with alleviating some of the problems there. And it is our hope that with input from the community that you will consider doing something to help us in the community before something drastic really happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lloyd. Anthony Cordes.
Good morning to the chairman and other council members. I want to follow suit as well about the issues of traffic over on Peyton Wood and Cotivo Drive. Our community is a beautiful community. We stress oneness in our community and love. I run the Adopt a Spot by the City of Atlanta for our community, and we manage and clean up litter between MLK and down Peyton Place. While cleaning up the neighborhood on Peyton Place, it is very dangerous crossing Cotivo onto Peyton Place with speeding cars. I had several near misses by speeding cars, so have my wife and my kids. Even though we were issued reflective safety vests, it seems like the distracted drivers still don't pay attention to pedestrians. It is a serious issue. I am asking that you please consider putting an all-way stop sign between Peyton Road and Cotivo Drive to minimize speeders and consider the safety of our hard-working pedestrians crossing the street. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to read off the names of the next 4 speakers. If you do not hear your name and you signed up after 9 o'clock, there's now an old-fashioned sign-up sheet over there with a piece of paper and a pen. So if you intended to speak and you don't hear your name, please do sign up on that sheet and we'll make sure we include you. The next speaker is Joseph L. Crawford Sr., followed by Jackie Rhodes, Matthew Peterson, and Jennifer Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me this time to share a few words about our community and concerns. I'm here to support the proposed ordinance 22-0-1279. We're in desperate need of some type of calming devices due to constant excessive speeding in our neighborhood. A school bus stop is near this intersection. Pedestrians frequent the spaces along the street, and cars have careened off the street onto pedestrian walkways. I want to commend Major Bryant and Zone 4 for his team in placing officers there every now and then, but we know that our police force are needed in other areas for other important concerns for our city. And an always stop sign at this intersection would minimize the need to have officers physically present, and this will be a help. So we're asking you to support this ordinance so that these calming devices could help for the safety of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Ms. Rhodes.
Good morning. I want to ditto everything everybody else has said. I live at 715 Cativo Drive, and there are 2 ways that I can get to Peyton Road. One of those is Cativo and Peyton Road. Whenever I try to go north, I have to wait. There is a stop sign at Kelso, but I have to make sure those cars are going to stop. Some will stop. Some will do what is called a rolling stop. So I have to determine which one, and some don't stop at all. Now, we have a problem. There is also an elementary school, Peyton Forest Elementary School. Those people will speed, and they will not stop at all. We need something done at Cativo and Peyton Road. We need readers. We need lights. We need something done at Cativo and Peyton Road. I want to thank the committee for putting signs at Harlem and Fielding Lane, so that when I need to go south, I see them stopping, at sometimes stopping, not all the time. But again, we desperately need help, and I want to ditto everything that everybody else has said. So please consider putting a 3-way stop sign at Cativo and Peyton Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. And to the individuals who've come to speak to us today about Peyton Road, first I'll note I can't speak for how the committee will vote today, but we've been a pretty welcoming and, dare I say, aggressive committee in approving new 4-way stops throughout the city. But I'll also note that there's $4 million set aside in the proposed infrastructure bond specific to Peyton Road to address speeding and pedestrian safety. So there is hopefully a lot of relief coming to the corridor. Yeah. Mr. Peterson.
Good morning, Chairman Faruqi, and good morning, council members. Pretty much I emailed everybody last night, and I'm passing out a hard copy. And instead of coming up here and saying pretty much the position of we would like you to pause on the Streets Alive legislation, I would like to see if anybody has any questions concerning the email that I sent or the hard copy that I'm sharing with you at this moment.
This is time for public comment, so you're welcome to use your time as you see fit.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Well, basically, if you guys could pause and, as I said, reconsider the budget, reconsider being inclusive and using it in different parts of the city instead of just focusing on Peachtree Street on a monthly basis, but once per quarter. I think that if it's a good concept and it should become law, but I think we need to do some of the work prior to it becoming law, which is getting the stakeholders' viewpoints as to traffic plans and the budget being correct. $2 million a year at $166,000 per event is a little steep, it seems, and we just would like to see you guys pause and move this forward at a later date. Thank you.
Jennifer Brooks.
Good morning, Transportation Committee. I'm Jennifer Brooks, and as you know, I live downtown, and I'm a good neighbor, and I really appreciate my neighbors. And my neighbors are all recovering from the pandemic, and out of respect for my arts community neighbors, my business and commercial neighbors, and the life safety and healthcare community that's right here in downtown, please don't force them to cope with closures of Peachtree Street. Please allow Commissioner Rowan all the time he needs to plan for a successful and repetitive event. Commissioner Rowan is really good at what he does, and I'm sure you're aware of that. So I think we should not rush him. We should wait till pandemic recovery is well on its way. And please share the love of this wonderful event and move it around the city to communities that would welcome it and where the event itself will do no harm. Thank you.
You, Rebecca Cerna, followed by Brian Sumlin, Muna Mohammed, and Ann Hill Bond.
Good morning, City Council members. Good morning, Chair Faroki. My name is Rebecca Cerna, and I'm the Executive Director of the Atlanta Bicycle Coalition, a nonprofit dedicated to reclaiming Atlanta's streets for people to walk, ride, and roll, including transit. And I'm here today to talk to you about the benefits of Atlanta Streets Alive for our city, for its business owners, and for all of us, including people who come from outside of the city to Atlanta. Our surveys have found that almost 77% of people who attend an Atlanta Streets Alive, which we have been holding for 9 years now, from 2010 to 2019, 77% purchase from a local business. Atlanta Streets Alive brings over 100,000 people regularly to Peachtree Street when it's on this corridor, which is our signature street. And Peachtree Street has been selected very intentionally as a launching point for this new era of Atlanta Streets Alive. We do see tremendous value in moving Atlanta Streets Alive around the city and opening up streets in every council district, in every community. However, as we shift and transition to this being more of a city-led program, we see a lot of value in creating some habits around active transportation, people walking, biking, scooting, and using wheelchairs on Peachtree Street on a regular basis as a good starting point. With 9 months, 8 months, check my math, before this legislation would go into effect, and since we've been speaking about it for several months now, I do think we have ample time to prepare. We've held several meetings and multiple conversations with stakeholders. Councilmember Faroki has led several of those, as well as the Atlanta Department of Transportation, and I'm sure there'll be many more conversations to come. This initiative does have the support of the Atlanta Neighborhood Association, Downtown Neighborhood Association, as well as Midtown Neighborhood Association. So residents definitely see the benefit, and we have heard from business owners as well who experienced increased business participation and patronage at their shops on Streets Alive days, which are on Sundays, our lowest traffic days of the week, and a day when people may not be as likely to go to downtown and Midtown Atlanta. Finally, I just want to comment on the state of being as a person outside of a car in Atlanta today. Atlanta's a great city. I love Atlanta. I grew up here. I've been here for 44 years. And at the same time, every time I get out of a car in Atlanta, especially if I have my children with me and I'm walking across the street, I feel very vulnerable. And knowing that I'm a person with privileges, to feel that vulnerable, it tells us that there is a long way to go yet when it comes to walking, biking, using a wheelchair. Most of our sidewalks are blocked and inaccessible to wheelchair users. So Atlanta Streets Alive is really about shifting the conversation and getting people to experience the city differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Sumlin.
Hello, good morning, City Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. So first, let's briefly discuss the Bike Lanes initiative. A few weeks ago along Hosea Williams Drive, we need a long-term plan for the bike lane system because bicycles are still being continued to be hit by vehicles. Lucky, one of my friends is recovering, and his job is paying for recovery leave while employers don't have that option. We know the community is heartbroken between the voting yes and no because people are barely staying afloat, as we talked about. And the communities, we want to urge the council to adopt an accountability statement and put in the legislation, okay? Because what happened in 1.0, the discrepancies, it can't happen again in 2.0 because we know the plan is going to pass. Trust us, the community is cringing about this vote because soon in the voting booth, because so much trust has been broken. The community, we know we need these projects. We need them, and we want to make sure the project on the list is protected itself. The project is protected itself. Decisions and operations in the corridors are affected by people's decisions. You know, we have an example of that on Peachtree Street as of last month. So the community, we make the project list. We should deliver and stay on the roadmap, stay on task of the people's projects. Let's continue to prove and repair our city's image of being worthy, accountable, and capable of stewarding the people's money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sumlin. I want to recognize Councilmember Westmoreland and Councilmember Lewis, who have arrived since we started. Councilmember Lewis, you have a comment.
I just want to say thank you, Brian, for coming down here. I know you live in District 12. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Ms. Muna Mohammed.
Good morning. All right, so my name is Mona Muhammad. I am 26 years old. I am a small business owner inside of Greenbrier Mall and a Southwest Atlanta native. Public transportation provides people with mobility, employment access, community resources, medical care, and recreational opportunities. MARTA is for the communities of Atlanta. The most important form of public transportation is railways. The new modern light rail transit, LRT, carries more riders and attracts new riders with its more comfortable commute and efficient transit time. By continuing the process of executing LRT on Campbellton Road, we are striving to gain equity, build affordable homes, and create new lasting jobs within my community. To gain equity, we must ensure that everyone who would ride can contribute opinions that would affect decisions on how transit operates. This is why I am here today to talk about the continuation of LRT. Their overall goals lines up with the betterment for not only my community, but equity for all MARTA riders. Atlanta's median rent increased by over 70%, but Atlanta's median income only increased by 48%. Not to overlook the displacement epidemic that's continuing in black communities across Atlanta. Plans like Greenbrier Town Center LCI Livable Communities Initiative studies in 2001 are here to create new affordable homes for new and old members from my growing community. With that being said, it is up to us to make sure that the best possible resources, opportunities are provided to the community to educate and empower. Other plans like More MARTA, bringing potential income and job opportunities for many new corporations, established and small businesses to give jobs to and further to add to the uprising and development of our community and its peoples. Recent studies have also shown that there has been a decline in bus usage. If we do not add LRT to the Campbellton Road corridor, it could possibly prevent my community from reaching its highest potential. In the last 60 seconds, I really do hope that you guys are looking into this project and making sure that they are going to continue the LRT on Campbellton Road. It is not smart to do BRT on Campbellton Road because buses aren't efficient as much as they used to be. And this project is for the future, and because it is for the future, we must make sure that we are using the money that's something that will last a long time in this predominantly black community, and it would help us grow to its fullest potential. So please consider that, you guys.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Ann Hill Bond.
Good morning. I'm Ann Hill Bond. I'm with Fulton County Remembrance Coalition. I'm here to request the historical markers for the 1906 Atlanta Race Massacre. Fulton County Remembrance Coalition is a coalition that is sponsored through Equal Justice Initiative, Brian Stevenson in Montgomery, Alabama. We have collected, back up. We have been a part of the Equal Justice Community partnership since 2019, and in that partnership we've collected 36 soil collections here in Fulton County that is housed at the Auburn Research Library that is to remember the 36 lynching victims here in Atlanta. 25 of them is from the Atlanta Race Massacre that happened in 1906. This year, for the 116th year anniversary, we would like to request 2 markers be installed, one at Cortland and one in 95 Gammon Street in South Atlanta, formerly known as Brownsville. These markers will be able to celebrate the lives of people that we will never know. We will never know what made them smile or what made them happy, right? We will only know how they passed away in this massacre. Through our research, we have been able to partner with the National Center of Human and Civil Rights. They are fully on board for once we erect the rest of the 11 markers that we have around Fulton County. The marker from EJI will come to the National Center of Human and Civil Rights. So we ask that you please pass this ordinance for us to not only erect these markers, but the other markers in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to all the speakers who made the time to come to City Hall today to share your perspectives. We are grateful for your civic engagement. Our next item is item F, presentations, reports, and updates. Today we have a quarterly report from the Department of Aviation. So Mr. Bayadari, you're welcome to come forward and give us an update on Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, City Council Member B.B. Odari, General Manager of the world's busiest and most efficient airport. Before I start this presentation, I would like to acknowledge the folks that are responsible for the numbers that you will see posted here today. It's huge, right? First and foremost, I would like to thank Mayor Dickens, his executive team, and the cabinet members who support the airport day in and day out. Without them, we can't move this airport as we are. Secondly, the elected body here, thank you all for your support. But most importantly, the 63,000 men and women that work at the airport every single day. And the executive team in the Department of Aviation that leads the airport every single day. It's a 24/7 job. A number of them are with me here. I'd like for them to stand so they could be recognized by this body. Thank you, team. They're the one who make us all look good. I'm just saying. So it's good to be in person. 2020, 2021 have been tough on all of us, and it's good to be back in person. So in the last year when I took this job, one of the very first things I embarked on is to develop a strategic plan with a vision, mission, and core value. Our vision is very simple. We're about airport efficiency and exceptional customer experience. And the mission is to connect our community to the world. That is, connect our community to people, economies, and cultures of the world. And our core value, it's the acronym I care, first letter in the acronym I, integrity. It represents what Mayor Dickens is all about. And his second day in the job, he talked to us about trust, honesty, our core value starts with integrity. We got to be above afraid of everything we do because so many eyes are upon us, and we always want to do the right things. Would you like to advance? And our strategic plan sits on 3 pillars, and these are the 3 pillars that we measure our performance and people, purpose, and performance. And we'll talk a little bit more about those. You're free to ask as much questions as you want as it pertains to these pillars at the conclusion of my briefing. So let's talk a little bit about people. Staffing strength. Department of Aviation have 779 FTE authorized position to run the world's busiest airport. Very lean, very mean total overall strength. With 159 vacancies as of the end of the first quarter. The last quarter we filled 29 vacancies. We are actively recruiting. Some of these vacancies are very specialized skill set. They were looking for that significant competition in the industry for these skill sets such as engineers, architects, and so on and so forth. Completed over 283 hours training and over 435 employees in the first quarter alone. Looking at our passenger, the next element or the next classification of people passenger, this is a good chart. First quarter of this year is showing us a growth over 2021. Our passengers coming back, and they're coming back very, very quickly. Community, next segment of our people is our community engagement in the community. We have done a lot of community engagement. We'll continue to focus on the communities because we want the community to enjoy economic prosperity along with the airport. Many of you were out there in January when we talk about human trafficking. We're going to stop it. The airport is not a place for you to do business. So those of you that were out there, thank you all very much. In February, I testified in front of Congress about gun proliferation at the TSA screening checkpoint. Out of my recommendation, a bill was created, and it's moving through Congress to implement some of those recommendations. And then last month we had a big job fair here at the airport, and out of that job fair, over 656 potential candidates were hired, and I think that number is even greater because some of the companies did not report it to us. Our purpose, simple: to maintain the operating certificate of the airport. This chart is a telling chart on the numbers of what we do at the airport here. The number of passengers in the first 3 months, the first 90 days of this calendar year, that the airport handled, 20.1 million passengers came through the airport. When you look at that, it's a huge number. Look at the 911 call that we handled. Over 9,000 911 call, and employee badging, 30,000. These are significant numbers. Over nearly 600,000 TNC operations, and it's over 75,000 taxi operations. Those are pickup operations. Those are not drop-off, only pickup that we measured. And a lot of people around the globe follow us socially on the social media platform. 61.5 million impressions. That is the number of people that looked at us, what we're doing at the airport in the first 90 days of this calendar year. A big, big number. Lots of people are looking at what we're doing because we have a global platform. This slide here says a lot. These two were our biggest impression that we received. Mayor Dickens, the day he was elected, the airport and my personal LinkedIn page garnered 61,000 impressions, congratulating him. Big numbers. This is what we talked about. The gun, 117 guns were captured were discovered at checkpoint so far this year. First 90 days. And these are some of the things we have implemented, we have put in place to try to stem this flow of gun coming to the airport checkpoints. Performance, financial health. Look at the economic opportunity here. This is a telling slide on our initiative, our diversity initiative. When we talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, in the first 90 days, we spent $127 million in construction activities, of which $30 million were paid to female and minority business, representing 38% of the eligible dollars that were eligible to pay to female and minority businesses. Big number. I think we are about the only airport in the nation that could post numbers such as these here in terms of our DEI program. Some of the infrastructure projects that are ongoing that you will see elements of it during our tour on Friday. The plane train tunnel, we finished the tunnel boring, and we're lining it now. We're waterproofing it and lining it. We're looking at a 9-end runway 9 left and the wrong taxiway, our second taxiway at the airport. Very few in the country you will see. This will have an economic saving of about $25 to $30 million in fuel savings for the airline annually, and a significant reduction in our carbon footprint. And then this year we'll be cutting the ribbon to add 5 gates at T-North. We're looking at a south de-icing complex that will also open this year, in a fire station 32, a new fire station. So we're talking about roughly $700 million worth of completed construction project that will cut the ribbons on this year. Significant economic opportunity for our contracting, design, and planning teams out there. Excuse me. We got a couple of things going on right now in our procurement division. Active in progress or in solicitation, our parking contract. It was supposed to be presented today, but I think the next cycle will be presenting that to this body here. T-Concourse North, that will be presented today, concession winner for the additional 6,000 square feet to support those 5 new gates that will be coming online, and our terminal-to-terminal shuttle. And also completed is Concourse D CMR. We just onboard them to start the process of Concourse D widening, and our domestic parking deck. You all have heard in the news. We've been pushing a lot of information to the general public, informing them of the impact that construction will have on those decks. Very proud of this here. The Airport Service Quality Award have awarded us as the #1 airport in region and over 40 million size for #1 in customer satisfaction, to include all aspects of our operational functions that we perform at the airport. Concession indoors, dining, security, checkpoint, cleanliness of the airport, and so on. Very proud of that award, and couldn't be any prouder of regaining our status as it should be the world's busiest in the world. So I'm very proud of those 2 awards. Looking ahead, again, under our strategic pillar of people, purpose, and performance, we'll continue to work on our recruitment projects, program, our career progression and success, preparing the airport for succession plan for the next 20 years, looking at improving our technology and our resiliency of the airport, because if that airport shuts down for 24 hours, it has a financial impact of $50 to $75 million, huge financial impact. So we've got to make sure that the airport is on its best behavior per se, 24/7, 365. And then performance, continued with our diversity program, our stewardship to the environment, and our capital improvement program. And with that, I will open myself up to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, General Manager Bayadari. I do see one colleague who has hit his speaker button. I'm sure others will jump in as well. But before I turn over to my colleagues, I do want to note and get your reflections on the FAA's recent ruling. In 2019, the Office of Airport Compliance and Management Analysis issued an investigation of Hartsfield-Jackson, alleging that the city may have unlawfully diverted airport revenue in violation of statute Grant Insurance 25, and the city may have improperly withheld airport records and documents affecting the airport, and that the city may have violated a section of the grant assurance by failing to report amounts paid or services provided. The investigation found no wrongdoing, that the allegations were baseless, which is great news for the airport, and reflects, I think, the level of integrity that you and your team bring to the table every day. Any reflections on the FAA's ruling?
Well, as I spoke to our strategic plan and our core value, integrity, we're running, and this is Premier Dickens' directive, we're going to run a transparent, he's going to run a transparent administration and each department will follow suit. The airport should be transparent by right. We should be doing the right things. And that's a must. We will not tolerate even a perception of wrongdoing. And so the outcome of the FAA investigation was expected because in my heart and all the evidence out there shows that we're running a very transparent and very clean with the highest of ethical value operations at the airport in all aspects of everything we do.
Perfect. It's great to hear. I know we're very happy to see that and appreciate your and your team's leadership with that purpose and perspective. I'll turn it over first to Councilmember Wan.
Thank you, Chairman Faroki. How are you? It's good to see you again. First, I want to congratulate you and your team on some very impressive results and numbers, and for always running an outstanding operation out at our crown jewel, the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. Wanted to lean into a couple of numbers, specifically on page 5, the employees, the vacancy situation. If I'm calculating correctly, 159 vacancies. That was as of first quarter out of 779. That's a 20% vacancy. So 2 questions for you. Number one, you had mentioned that some of those are in hard-to-fill positions with specific skills around engineering, but is there a concentration in any particular area? When you say that we are understaffed, or I'm making that assumption, but I would hate for us to be understaffed in engineering, a very vital operation. And with a 20% vacancy, it's kind of in every office. 4 people are doing the work of 5. So I'm a little concerned about that. So can you speak to is there a pattern in the vacancies? Is it concentrated in any particular area? And is there any reason for concern?
So thanks for the question, Councilmember On. The vacancies spread across the board, so there's pocket of, right? And so where we have issues with a particular skill set, we augment. We're in a good position to be able to augment with consultant help or external contractors. I would prefer to have the work done in-house. Where we can't, we're doing that. When we started the year, we were at 24% vacancy rate. And the reason for that, some of our skilled laborers were jumping ship, going to other companies out there. What I've asked and what was done was my HR director to do an analysis and look at our pay structure. I wanted to know how many employees we have or how many positions we have in the airport that were making less than $20 an hour. She pointed out that we had 65 positions. Late last year in December, City Council approved it, and I will report to you that we don't have a single position that will make less than $20 hourly wage, less than $20 an hour. So now we're able to retain that skill set and continue to attract to fill those positions. Concurrently, what we did is with our contractors that I have under the Department of Aviation umbrella, we did an analysis, and those contractors were paying $7.50, $8.50 an hour. We did the financial analysis. Mr. Benefield, my CFO, did the financial analysis, and each one of those contractors now are reimbursed with a starting pay of $15 to $20 an hour for every single employee. So pay equity was a big thing for us. So we're there, and we're seeing that the retention is stronger, the attrition has slowed down drastically. And now, as people are looking at the new leadership in Atlanta Airport, we're starting to get interest from outside of the region wanting to come work for the airport.
All right, so if I hear you correctly, you've been using contract outside professional services to make up the difference as you continue ramping up your recruitment. The other question I have, though, is the pace. So you said you've got 29 new hires in this first quarter, and again, that raises a little concern because if you've got 159 vacancies, we're talking a year before you actually catch up, provided you're not losing anyone, which I'm glad you're doing those efforts. But how are you feeling? Is it just a function of, is the market... Anyway, what are your thoughts on just ability to close that gap
So coming out of the holiday season, the market was slow, right? And so now that we're getting into spring, summer, we're seeing the volume. As if you look at just the job fair we have across the board, across the airport, over 600 new hires within a 24, 48-hour period. So we're starting to pick the pace up. This number will go down significantly because we got a number of employees right now that have accepted, and they're going through the background check and badging and stuff like that.
That makes sense. I appreciate that. The other questions I have are around slide 14, financial health. First question, just remind me, obviously you're running a significant surplus. Any surplus that y'all realize for the fiscal year, does that just go into capital fund and it is available for projects going forward? Is that how that works?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, and then does the, I'm surprised that your expenses are actually a little lower considering, I'm assuming that most of that is just from your vacant positions, but part of that has been eaten up by the replacement of contract service.
Correct. The reduction of contract when we started 2020, 2021. So as we start the track, we anticipate a steady growth, not this rush of people wanting to fly back. And so we were a little bit behind, but I will tell you that, again, we are not missing any beat, and there's no gap in our services that we're offering to the customers.
I appreciate the responses again, full confidence in what your team is doing, and I appreciate the background on that. I appreciate that. Again, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. B, for coming in today. Full confidence in you, Miss Anita, and Brother Mike Smith in the back. Full confidence in the team. I know that a wise man told me that a airport without a crane is a dying airport. And so by looking at your
I wonder who that wise man was.
By looking at your presentation today, District 12 is going to have some cranes in it for a while. And so I want to say I appreciate you for doing that. I also want to say I appreciate you on the minority participation at the airport. It's steadily rising. I know you and I had a goal of it growing by a huge percentage. And with these cranes and with that growth, that's a good thing. The question I have is two things I want to hope that you can take back from me. One is to the FAA about the hiring problem we're having, that 10-year background check. I've talked about it from the day I met you. We got to drop it down to 5. If there's anything you could do, I know I'm working with our senators, our U.S. senators out of the state of Georgia, but if there's anything you can do to try to break that down to 5, and that way I think we can improve that gap.
So it's a congressional mandate, and my stellar Deputy General Manager of Operations, Ms. Lennon, is on the subcommittee looking at all of this. So they're doing a forensic analysis of all the requirement to onboard someone, and also the entire security of airport across the nation. So they have a list of initiatives that they're working on. So she's deep into that right now.
Okay, and I think I had one more thing. The youth jobs. I know we spoke about youth jobs when we first met, but I would like for you to add that to the presentation, because I think the growth with, I think, just be intentional about hiring youth for the summer, because we need that help.
So thank you for that. As a matter of fact, we had a long presentation and discussion yesterday. This summer, June the 2nd, I think, right? We will onboard both college and high school over 85 students to work this summer, and then we want to extend for the high school students in the local region even longer. So we're looking at right now onboarding at least a minimum of 85 that we have budgeted for.
And thank you again, and thank you again, Brother Smith, for showing up as well.
Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Bianari, for your presentation. My question is really around the airport's response to the state's new constitutional carry laws. I believe last year, there's some research that was done looking at last year that even though with passenger capacity being at historic lows because of the pandemic, the number of guns that were confiscated at airports, particularly by TSA, were at an all-time high. Can you talk to how Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is responding to those challenges as it is, and any changes are being made in response to the state's new constitutional carry law, since I imagine that might have some significance for the airport.
So, as I mentioned in February, I testified in front of Congress. We have done a number of initiatives. We're the first airport to have a hologram out there now. We need to inform, right? We have to inform passengers, because what's happening is a lot of passengers said, "Oh, I forgot." And so we're trying to push information to passenger to check your bag. Even last week I was on Good Morning America, and that's one of the things for the entire country. Empty your bags, check your bag before you repack it, before you come to the airport. Guns are prohibited in this in the security checkpoint and in this secured area of the airport. That's a federal law. We will continue to abide with the federal laws and state laws as applicable.
And so because it's a federal law, there's no, even though Georgians have a constitutional right to carry, that doesn't impede the airport's ability to mitigate that through existing measures. So there's no changes that need to be made, except for maybe stepped up enforcement, because people can be careless, people can forget, and that sort of thing. But as far as
correct. So once you enter the security queue, it's considered to be federal territory, and that's where we apply the federal law. Before entering or prior to entering the security queue, state laws apply, and we continue to abide by the state laws.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Overstreet.
Good morning, and good morning to the full aviation team. Thank you so much for all being here today. Goodness, I love our airport. I really do.
We love you too, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you. But so congratulations on being number one in everything, okay? Yes. We're the most efficient in the world. And all of the other awards that you posted today just adds to that list. And, it's nothing to be modest about. It's a big deal. It's a huge deal, the work that we are doing here with the City of Atlanta and at the airport. And so we need to make sure that we boast and hold our chests out, because we deserve that. I am so very proud of the work that all of you all are doing, and always staying ahead of the trends and the work. You all are really setting the bar high, and it's just not by chance that we're number one, and I appreciate that. And in that same vein, I know that, we keep hearing about these high numbers of us capturing all of these firearms that, we see on TV and that we're talking about here today. But I look at it as a part of why we're number one. I think that's a part of why we're efficient and we're thorough, and we're capturing these firearms before they actually meet, the other side, which is trapped on an airplane. And so I applaud you all for that also. And thank you for the details that you shared today and that you always share. And we're always here to communicate and help you in any way.
So when I talk about a partnership on the 63,000 employee at the airport, the TSA, when I told our congressional representative, Herculean job, they are so efficient in protecting the air transportation.
I agree. And that's why we are collecting and capturing all of the contraband that's trying to make it on to the airplanes, because we are efficient. And not only in that aspect, but I took a quick trip during Easter weekend. And on Good Friday, I've never in my whole life flying seen the line so long in security. We literally started where you check in at Delta arrivals, and we queued all around the atrium, and I mean all the way around towards the south terminal, the north terminal, and back into the atrium to start a queue. And we still made our airplane. They were so efficient. There were so many people posted up throughout, being very helpful and showing us exactly where we're supposed to be, and keeping the rules in line, no cut in line, and making sure that we were taken care of that day. And I appreciate that. So everyone should applaud themselves for all of the yeoman work that we've been doing at the airport.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. We saw some social media we have an operation plan that we put in place. And so for 20 years, I've been trying to, with a number of consultants help and stuff, try to figure out this arrival curve of our passenger. Mm-hmm. If you have a 10 o'clock flight, don't show up with a 6 o'clock crowd. And so everybody that show up at 6 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, we are just seeing regular number of people that's showing up, and it's just smooth as ever. When we do have those big crowd, a couple of things we look at and we work on very hard. First and foremost, there's safety and security. So we have an entire cadre of law enforcement, security, and EMS team on site, ready to respond to any quick, urgent matter. Number two is information sharing, not to panic the customer. You're going to make it through in 30 minutes, despite the length of the line. You'll make it through. We're working. And the third thing that we're working on right now, and this will come to you guys, we're going to modernize our main security checkpoint to even make it more efficient. Today, the throughput is about 160. Tomorrow, we want 300 passengers going through each lane per hour, the same throughput that we're seeing with a new modernized checkpoint on the south side, the south checkpoint.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that with us today. And thanks for being here.
Thank you.
See you Friday.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. We're looking forward to it.
Councilmember Waits.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Midori, for the presentation this morning, and your team, by the way, as well as for the efforts surrounding women and minority contracting. I would like to see the data surrounding women and minority contracting in terms of the actual dollars that are being expended. So I'd love to have access to that. And secondly, what work are we doing surrounding increasing the number of local businesses that have access to do business at the airport?
So for the past 2 years, despite the COVID, we have still been having virtual work. We're doing a lot of roundtable training, community outreach. As a matter of fact, I think tomorrow, right, Mike? Tomorrow we have another roundtable to present information. We're pushing information to businesses out there. We're helping them. We are collaborating with DOP and OCC and others to share information, to educate, and then help. As a matter of fact, to show you the importance we're playing on diversity, is I just hired an assistant general manager to oversee that entire program with a team of, I think, 10 or 12. Individuals. So we are putting a lot of emphasis, we're pushing a lot of training out there, a lot of information, and a lot of help.
Thank you so much. And could I have access to the data surrounding women and minorities in terms of the dollars that we're expending?
We will get you that data.
Thank you, General Manager. And I would just add on to Councilmember Waits' request, if there's additional data or demographic data on how those MBE dollars are being spent, meaning what's the breakdown amongst kind of Black, Hispanic, Asian American women. It would be helpful for that line of sight as well.
Okay, we'll look at the database and pull the demographic and especially on female.
Yep. And I'll just remind my colleagues in the wake of Councilmember Overstreet's nod to Friday, we will be visiting the airport, those who can attend, to look under the hood of what excellence looks like in aviation, and look forward to being with you, and thank you for hosting us.
We're excited because, again, the more information we could push to this body, the better your understanding is when we bring legislation up here to support us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is a communication from the Audit Committee regarding street lighting, and I believe Daniel Hampton, as chair of the committee, will be here to present.
Mr. Chair, may I sign the item?
Please do.
Section G, Communications, item number 1, 22C5063, a communication from Daniel Hampton, Chair, Audit Committee, submitting the performance audit report, street lighting.
Good morning. I'm Amanda Noble, City Auditor, and I'm here with the audit team, Stephanie Jackson, Rebecca Robinson, and Erwin Coleman, to present the results of our street lighting report. Rebecca's going to walk us through the presentation, and then we'll be available to answer questions.
Rebecca Robinson, Senior Performance Auditor, City Auditor's Office. Good morning. Let me see. It's just the red to advance, I guess. Okay. It's not. Oh, here we go. Okay. Objective. 2 objectives guided our audit. First, are Atlanta's street lighting operational and maintenance costs consistent with industry standards, and are adequate controls in place to ensure that street lighting operability meets industry standards. The scope of the audit was July 2018 through March 2021. Some of our audit methods included selecting a random sample of 27 of 504 third square mile land lots stratified based on council district landmass, and locating and physically counting streetlights within the selected plots to verify Georgia Power billing and location data, and to determine street lighting operability. Analyzing Georgia Power billing data and monthly inspection reports for interstate light maintenance, estimating the city's monthly charges for street lighting based on lighting type and applicable tariffs and agreements, and comparing tariff rates across Georgia Public Service Commission districts to understand Georgia Power's rates relative to other jurisdictions. The next 2 slides will summarize our findings. Unregulated lights accounted for 5% of the total street lighting inventory, but 16% of total costs. Without clear criteria for deciding on the types of streetlights to install or who is authorized to execute agreements, the city may have entered into agreements when less costly options were available. Our analysis of 74 individual agreements for unregulated lights executed between 2014 and 2021 found that each agreement covered between 1 and 334 streetlights at an average estimated cost of $48 per light. Lower-level employees signed agreements for 17.6% of these unregulated lights. The city does not have a plan for managing street lighting costs and agreements, and neither the city nor Georgia Power has maintained a complete, accurate inventory of streetlights, creating the risk that the city is paying ongoing service costs for decommissioned streetlights. Georgia Power could not provide all current executed street lighting agreements, and some agreements lacked the physical location of the lights and/or Georgia Power account numbers. We identified at least 36 streetlights in Georgia Power's location data that were not present in our random sample of land lots, covering about 9 square miles across the city. While Georgia Power employees told us that they can link all billing charges to specific lights, their location data included only lights charged under the RLG tariff, which I'll explain in a moment. 62% of lights for which it bills the city. This thing hates me. So is there a way to point it that will work more effectively? Your batteries are dead. Do you want it? Oh, that just worked. Okay, I'll keep going for now. Okay, almost 12% of the 695 city-owned lights we observed in October 2021 in our random sample of land lots were not working, while 3.7% of the 2,843 Georgia Power lights we observed were not working. Monthly inspection reports for interstate lights between March 2019 and March 2021 show a range of 3.5 to 9.3% of lights not working. We were unable to assess repair times because data were not available from Georgia Power or the city, but the city's expected repair times are much longer than Georgia Power's or other cities we reviewed. Finally, the city's proposed sale of streetlights to Georgia Power will likely increase overall performance, increase overall costs but improve performance. Unregulated lights drive higher costs. This is Exhibit 10 from page 19 of the report, showing the difference in cost between regulated and unregulated lights. Regulated lights, including RLG and OLG, which stand for roadway lighting governmental and outdoor lighting governmental, tend to be less expensive than unregulated lights, which are installed in parks, parking lots, and where infrastructure for regulated lights is absent. OLG regulated lights are found in similar places to unregulated lights, but only specific light fixtures and poles qualify for this tariff rate. OLG lights, or outdoor lighting non-governmental, are typically installed where the city wanted a particular light fixture that wasn't available through the regulated tariff structures. Although they make up only 5% of the total streetlight inventory, unregulated lights account for 16% of the total lighting costs. In comparison, regulated RLG lights make up 62% of all lights in the city's portfolio and 56% of the costs. We requested all current lighting service agreements for unregulated lights executed between 2014 and 2021. The individual agreements authorize the installation of between 1 and 334 lights, suggesting that the city has added lights in a haphazard way. Although transportation has developed a plan for deciding where to add additional lighting, it lacks a plan for managing costs and agreements associated with streetlights. For example, criteria for which lighting type to install are unclear. Okay, lower level staff signed agreements for 17.6% of unregulated lights. This is Exhibit 11 from page 21 of the report, showing the percentage of unregulated lights approved by commissioners and deputy commissioners, and the percentage approved by lower level staff. Lower level staff approved 502, or 17.6% of unregulated lights, out of a total of 2,850. Once a lighting service agreement is signed, the agreement is in effect on a month-to-month basis until the city cancels the agreement in writing. Without a central plan or authority for adding new streetlights, departmental staff may sign agreements that obligate the city in perpetuity for new lights. The city lacks information to manage its street lighting portfolio. This is Exhibit 13 on page 25 of the report, showing our sample of 27 of 504 land lots. We use the city's GIS data to randomly select these land lots, totaling about 9 square miles. We were unable to locate 36 regulated RLG lights that were within the sample locations according to Georgia Power data. Transportation staff told us that the department is unsure how to verify Georgia Power billing, so it mainly relies on the honor system for accuracy. As a result of the inability to link lights to a specific location, the city may be overbilled for street lighting, billed a flat rate for uninstalled or removed lights, and or billed for lighting outside of its jurisdiction. Unregulated lights are governed by lighting service agreements, which determine the service, energy, and maintenance cost of lights. We received agreements for 2,850 of 2,989 unregulated lights that Georgia Power owns, which is approximately 95%. Georgia Power does not offer standard prices for unregulated lights, even for unregulated lights of the same type, so agreements should be available to the city upon request to verify that Georgia Power is charging the correct amount. We found that some actual locations of lights on the agreements were incorrect, and some lacked Georgia Power account numbers. Discrepancies that limits the city's ability to match agreements to specific lights to verify billing. For example, 11 agreements that authorized the installation of 1,234 lights between 2019 and 2021 listed 0 roadway lighting as the service address of the lights. Lighting outages are more common for city-owned streetlights. This is Exhibit 15 on page 29 of the report, showing inoperability rates of city-owned lights on the interstates that the city pays Georgia Power to maintain. We analyzed reports for March 2019 through March 2021 and found that outages ranged from 3.5% to 9.3%. Despite the lights being inoperable, the city pays the maintenance fee and a flat rate for energy charges. During our observations of the sampled landlots, less than 4% of Georgia Power-owned regulated RLG lights were out, although Detroit was able to maintain an inoperability rate of 2% by repair crews examining lights at night. In contrast, Georgia Power relies on customers to call in outages. Georgia Power staff stated that the utility would issue a billing credit if lights were not repaired timely. However, because the utility declined to provide its service request data, the city has no way of knowing when it is entitled to billing credits. Without the data to verify repairs, lights may remain inoperable for extended periods of time, and the city is unable to collect billing credits for delayed repairs. 12% of city-owned lights were out. This is Exhibit 17 from page 30 of the report, showing the city's expected goal for minor street lighting repairs compared to the repair turnaround goals for other municipalities that were published online. During our observations, we found that 81 of 695, or 12%, of city-owned lights were inoperable. The city's response time goal for minor repairs was at least 18 days more than other cities' reported goals. Transportation currently has 1 repair crew, which is insufficient staffing to proactively maintain streetlights. Transportation staff told us that it would need 4 crews, a total of 8 people, using the Federal Highway Administration's ratio of lights to repair people to perform routine maintenance. Georgia Power assessment of city-owned lights could present a conflict of interest. The city's proposed sale of its streetlights to Georgia Power will likely increase overall costs but improve performance. We estimate that selling city-owned lights to Georgia Power could increase monthly costs by about $114,000. Resolution 21-R-3661 authorized the city to contract with Georgia Power to assess the inventory of city-owned lights. Because Georgia Power would benefit from acquiring city-owned lights, contracting with the utility to conduct the study could present a conflict of interest. The next recommendations. The next 3 slides will summarize our recommendations. In order to develop better controls for street lighting, we recommend that the Transportation Commissioner add regulated lights where possible to reduce costs, establish criteria for where and why unregulated lights are added to reduce the overall expense of lighting, develop a plan for managing street lighting costs and agreements, implement an approval process for adding new lights to the city street lighting portfolio, including who is authorized to sign agreements for unregulated lights, work with law to renegotiate unregulated lights under one agreement and or at least renegotiate agreements for lights for which Georgia Power cannot provide the agreements. The Transportation Commissioner should also work with Georgia Power to develop a tracking nomenclature to identify the billing charges for each light, order a physical audit of a sample of lights quarterly to ensure that billing data is accurate, Work with Georgia Power to collect billing credits for lights for which the city has been charged a flat rate, but that cannot be physically located. Assign staff to streetlight record keeping to serve as a central repository for agreements and streetlight-related GIS data. Work with Georgia Power to establish a reasonable operability rate for regulated lights, and require nighttime work if the rate exceeds the established threshold. We also recommend that the Transportation Commissioner work with Georgia Power to ensure that service request data is available to the city upon request. Work with law during contract renegotiations to include provisions in the contract to provide billing credits for outages over a certain threshold. Develop written procedures for processing streetlight service requests if the city decides to maintain city-owned streetlights in its portfolio. Update SLAs and consider increasing the number of city repair crews or outsourcing repairs of city-owned lights if the city decides to maintain city-owned lights in its portfolio. And finally, analyze proposed Georgia Power rates for purchasing city-owned lights to mitigate the risk created by the city contracting with the utility to assess the lights prior to purchasing them. Thank you. That concludes our presentation. The full report is available on our website, atlaudit.org, and we'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see two council members who've hit their button. I just want to say at the outset, this report kind of tells me what my gut's been telling me, which is we're not very good at this, to be blunt, and both our oversight and maintenance of streetlights has been a long-standing issue and one that we need to figure out. I mean, the most damning slide to me was how long it takes for us to repair a light. We're not even the same league as peer cities. I mean, we're just, it's a lot can happen in 30 days. And when we talk about Vision Zero and keeping people safe on streets, when we talk about improving public safety, streetlights are part of that. And if we're going to live up to our commitments, we need to figure this out and straighten it out. So I appreciate y'all taking the time to dive into this, to bring data forward. It's helpful. I know the city is negotiating Georgia Power right now, a sale agreement, and you noted that costs may go up, but performance will likely improve as well. And without giving it full thought and time, I think at this point performance is more desirable given where we are and the needs we have in the city. So thank you. I will now turn to my colleagues with their questions and comments. Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just my first question is more of a technical question. What is your definition of an unregulated light? Is it lights that were identified that weren't part of any of the GIS data that was shared by either Georgia Power or City of Atlanta? Is that what it is, or is it something?
The unregulated lights are the lights that are governed by individual service agreements and aren't subject to tariff by the Georgia Commission.
What would be an example of that?
So as Rebecca said, there are some unregulated lights that are in, they look a lot like the city lights actually, but they don't have the city logo on them. They might be in parks or area ways. Sometimes they're on roadways if there's not wooden poles. They're more decorative. I think we have pictures in the reports that show sort of the difference.
Okay, thank you. And then my other question, did you all look at the type of lights that were across the city? So I know there's high-pressure sodium lights, there's LED lights, and as you look at the costs for maintenance and operating costs and things like that, I know LED lights are far cheaper than some of these sodium high-pressure lights. Was that accounted for in this analysis, or at least in the scope of work? I'm curious as we look at retrofitting some of our older lights, I know there's some costs associated.
Yeah, well, so the lights are governed by the tariff agreement, so depending on what agreement is in effect, that covers the cost. So I think sometimes the LED lights were more costly. Is that
well, compared to city, most of the high-pressure sodium are city-owned, so because we own the lights. But in general, Georgia Power doesn't provide any lighting that is still high pressure sodium.
As far as the costs, like for operating costs and maintenance costs, y'all are referencing the agreement versus
or the tariff, and we have quite a lot of background in the report that describes this, but there is along with the roadway lighting tariff, the RLG, there's a EOL, so it assumes the electricity, and sort of depending on the lumens, there's a cost associated with that.
Okay. And then my last question is, I know the previous administration announced the Light Up the Night program to install 10,000 new lights across the city. I know there's still conversations as far as what that disposition is going to look like. I imagine the findings of this audit could potentially, depending on us approving this communication, could potentially impact some best practice or create some best practices in terms of how that gets implemented. Did y'all look into any sort of, or maybe that was beyond the scope of the audit, but did y'all look into any future programs that the city might be looking at to install new lights across the city, and what's that taken into account with this audit?
Yeah, we specifically left out of the scope how many lights the city needed because that was covered by the Georgia Tech study. But going forward, adding lights, looking at the composition of lights and the cost per light will help keep it affordable. So that to the extent that the city can add lights that can be governed by the tariffs, the roadway lighting agreements, it'll be a lot less expensive.
Thank you.
Councilmember Juan. Thank you, Chairman Farokhi. I'm going to come at it a different angle. So I agree with the recommendation that going forward, to the extent that we can add regulated versus unregulated for the reasons you put forward, what's preventing us from converting our existing unregulated and attacking that inventory? Is it, I understand the situations where there are decorative lights, you don't necessarily want to go put at these industrial, there's a reason why they're decorative, but are there other obstacles or barriers for us pursuing that strategy?
I am not entirely sure because we couldn't figure out the reasons always why they were put in place. Mm-hmm. So in some cases, the wooden poles aren't there. But if there is a way to convert the unregulated to regulated, there would definitely be a cost savings.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's twice as much according to your schedule, and if we were to, in an ideal world, convert all of them, you'd find your $100,000 right there in terms of the increased costs that we're talking about.
And part of our problem with auditing them is we don't know the location of all of them. So we didn't have all the agreements, and not all the agreements listed the locations. So in order to even do that assessment, we need more data.
Thank you. Councilmember Lewis.
And first, thank you for your report. Very thorough. I'm willing to bet that Ms. Noble, Ms. Jackson, Ms. Robertson, and Mr. Coleman are all experts in street lighting now, right? So, I had a couple of questions about my area, because I know you said 12% of the city lights were off.
12% of the city operated owned lights, and that was excluding the interstate, were not working when we checked.
And I know it looks like a third world country in some of my busiest areas at night, particularly Metropolitan and Cleveland Avenue. And I'm wondering, do we know where those 12% of lights are not working?
These 12% were the ones in our sample. So we, and Rebecca showed you the exhibit that showed the city with the little dots. So we selected 27 land lots, randomly selected in all council districts, and just went and did a survey, either at night or early in the morning when it was dark, to count street lights and note whether they were on or off. Yeah. So most of the city lights that we noted in our sample, I think, were in Midtown. So I don't know how many we saw in Council District 12.
I would like to ride with one of y'all so I can show you, because I know they're not working for us. Commissioner Rowland and I, we rode through and the lights weren't working. My next question is...
They're the ones that fixed to poles, though. Those are Georgia Power owned.
Okay. Oh, those are Georgia Power lights. Got you. And my last one was, thank you again for doing this report. Does Georgia Power owe us some money?
We suggested that the city could try to negotiate a refund if lights are not working, but we don't have the data right now to show how long they're not working. And I think their maintenance agreements or their SLA allows for repairs within 3 days and possibly longer if there's extraordinary circumstances. That's a question for the law department, really.
And the last thing is, I know there's a lot of the recommendations, a lot of the report involved our transportation leader. Does he have capacity to do this stuff as well? Because I know we're putting a lot of things on his plate right now. Do we even have capacity to do that?
I don't want to speak for the transportation commissioner. They agreed with the recommendations.
He just said he doesn't have capacity. He said he has 2 people. So as a city, we need to make sure that when we do that, we need to support our transportation chair. I don't believe in outsourcing our work if we can do it. And so we need to make sure that we also support our Josh Rowan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move to communication, section G.
Mr. Chair, that was our communication.
Oh, sorry.
We need to make a motion.
Consent agenda, section H. Yeah.
We need to make a motion to accept and file the audit report.
So moved. Please open the vote. Motion for Roki, second Westmoreland.
The vote is open.
I have one there. Oh, replace it.
Will everyone please vote?
Wait, says aye.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is accepted and filed. This takes us to section H, ordinance for first reading. Item number 1, 2020-1333. An ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a lease agreement with Atlanta Airlines Terminal Company, a Georgia corporation, for the lease of parking spaces located at 606 Lake Mirror Road, Clayton County, Georgia, Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport, waiving the lease of city-owned real property requirements contained in Section 2-1547, Article 10 of the Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta, as well as any other conflicting code provisions and for other purposes. Section I, ordinance for second reading. Item number 2, 2020-1259. An ordinance by Transportation Committee to waive the lease of city-owned real property requirements contained in Section 2-1547 of Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, as well as any other conflicting code provisions, and to authorize the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into Amendment Number 1 to the lease agreement for the North Cargo area located at 1270 Woolman Place with United Parcel Service Incorporated to now include leasing city-owned real property located at an adjacent building, 1280 Woolman Place at Hartsfield-Jackson, Atlanta International Airport, and for other purposes.
B.B. O'Dowd, Airport General Manager. This is to amend UPS lease to add 20,000 square feet of vacant facility adjacent to UPS for the use of cargo operations for the remaining of UPS terms. Lease agreement.
Terrific. Motion by Juan, second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable. Item number 3, 2020-1260. An ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the First Amendment to Agreement GS04P LGA 00572 with the United States of America for Transportation Security Administration, general support, and office space at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, retroactively effective from October 1st, 2021, and for other purposes.
Mr. Baydari.
This agreement was passed in August 2020, but it took us a year to work with GSA, going back and forth. They wanted a reduced rate. We wanted fair market value based on what other internal tenants were paying. We did not want to have disparity among our tenants. So we finally secured the agreement to get the right rate, equitable to what other internal tenants are paying. And so we're ready to execute this contract going back to October 2021 with an initial 7-year term.
Motion by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable. Item number 4, 22O-1274, an ordinance by Councilmember Michael Julian Bond requesting the Department of Finance to partner with MARTA to conduct an analysis to determine the feasibility of allowing Atlanta residents access to fare, free public transit within the Atlanta MARTA system limits of Atlanta and for other purposes.
It's Finance or MARTA here today. I spoke with MARTA yesterday, and they were comfortable with this moving forward. They have limitations on how they can, how much of their revenue has to come from fares, and so I think Councilmember Bond is aware of that, and this is merely a feasibility study. I've got all indication that all the interested parties were okay with it moving forward to study the feasibility, but there's a lot of limitations that make this unlikely. So barring any objections, I will move to approve, but yeah.
I'd like to hear that from MARTA here if they're here. Versus, not that I don't trust you, but I'd rather have the policy conversation in here with them even before sending a feasibility study.
This is a committee. Yeah. So I'll withdraw my motion. You want to make a motion, Councilmember Juan?
I'll move to hold so that MARTA can be here for us to discuss this.
Second by Overstreet, Councilmember Lewis.
Just would like MARTA to be here at events like this. Thank you to the airport. Thank you to the folks that come to the transportation meetings. I would like for the folks that receive funding from the City of Atlanta to come to the Transportation Committee meetings. Thank you.
Please open the vote. Motion by Juan, second by Overstreet.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Mr. Chair, item number 5 requests a substitute.
Move to bring it forward. Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute before you. The substitute adds the full legislative history, change some language to ensure accuracy, and also adds Councilmember Matt Westmoreland as a co-sponsor.
Commissioner Rowan, do you want to speak to this before we take a vote?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Josh Rowan, Commissioner of Atlanta Department of Transportation. I'd like to take a half step back, if I may, to set myself up for 2 weeks. There was a comparison of Atlanta to Detroit. Detroit's streetlights were 40% inoperable, so bad that the state has taken over. They were actually the motivation for the effort that we've undertaken. I will share more about that in 2 weeks, more about the details, but in all, it was an excellent audit. We fully support the recommendations. As far as scooters go, we have no objections to this. We are actually very grateful for the extra time. As many of you know, safety is our business. Safety is very important to us. And our Vision Zero manager was struck by a car in Chattanooga crossing the street. This is the first time I've spoken publicly about this. We are a group that's hurting, and we are a group that needs some time to get our ducks in a row. And so thank you for this. We want to move more towards an RFP so that we're in a contractual relationship, and this isn't a year-over-year thing. The 3 operators we have today are doing a very good job. We've gone from 9 operators to 3, and we like to continue this improvement curve. And so we stand here today, and thank you for this legislation.
I believe we had a motion from Juan, second from Overstreet, I believe. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable on substitute. Item number 6, 22-0-1276. An ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Lewis authorizing the mayor or his designee to install a traffic signal at the end of Arthur B. Langford Parkway and Lakewood Avenue and for other purposes.
Commissioner Rowan.
This is some legislation. We have no objection to it. The issue is it may take a little longer than a typical city installation. Because this is a state route, we would have to go through the state process requirements for signal authorization, which is something we can do. We would just need a consultant to do that work for us.
Councilor Lewis.
Do you know how long it would take? Because that route is one of the most dangerous areas in my district.
Sir, I would have to follow up with you on the estimated time frame. Our issue right now is it's actually, I believe, within the next 2 legislative cycles, we'll be coming before you with our new menu of on-call consultants. So we actually don't have access to them right now.
Councilmember Juan.
So I'm kind of jumping off of his question as well. So what would kind of the normal installation time be for street lights? I know signs you do in-house, so we've got a shorter period, and you and I have talked about speed tables, but in terms of street lights?
A street light or a signal?
Signal.
So usually we're able, it's all depending on material availability, and keep in mind the signals that we install are 4 wooden poles, span wire, and hanging the signal heads. Generally, that's running anywhere in the 9 to 12 month range. It's the thing to keep in mind, too, is once it's installed, we have to do a 30-day burn. We get a lot of complaints about who are the people who put trash bags over the brand-new signal, and that's us. We have to do that to make sure it functions before we go live with it.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion on this item? I'll move to approve.
Second.
Second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Councilor Lewis.
Do you have any alternative solutions for until that 9 to 12 month period? Because my folks want to see something right there ASAP.
Councilmember, let's schedule a Friday to just go make a field visit. There are things we can do with signing and striping and work with the state to talk to them to see if there's anything they can do on their end.
Okay.
I know exactly the spot you're talking about, and it's very similar to other areas we have where you're going from a high rate of speed to a local street, and it just comes up so suddenly on you. It's very similar to what we're dealing with at Bill Kennedy Way, that we've got to at least give people advance warning that a sudden change is coming. I'd be happy to do that next Friday, week from this Friday.
Next item.
Mr. Chair, item number 7 requires an amendment. The amendment changes the caption. The caption,
Second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended. The amended caption reads, item number 7, 22-0-1278, ordinance by Councilmember Andrea L. Boone, as amended by Transportation Committee, authorizing the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install no parking signs on LeConte Highway Southwest to Clement Drive Southwest from Baker's Ferry Road Southwest and for other purposes.
Commissioner?
Yes, sir. We recommend this for approval.
Motion by Juan, second by Farokhi. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended. Favorable as amended, excuse me. Mr. Chair, the next items on our agenda, we have 15 installation of stop signs. Can we amend number 8 and 10 separately? No, take items number 8 and 10 separately, and then take number 9, 11 through 16, 18, 19, 23, through 25 and item number 28 together?
Yes, please do.
Yes, I'm trying to find.
And always stop.
Item number 8, the amendment corrects the spelling of the street. It reads Cavito Drive when it should be Cativo Drive, Southwest.
Second by Overstreet. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. The item is amended. Item number 8, 22-0-1279. It's an ordinance by Councilmember Andre L. Boone as amended by Transportation Committee as ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Cativo Drive Southwest to Peyton Drive Southwest an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Commissioner. Yes, sir. If I may, just two comments. It's hard to believe it was a little over a year ago that we were walking to Forest Ferry with Councilmember Hillis and then Councilmember Dickens and had this idea that, well, let's put in all-way stops. At least it might slow people down, and it's really gained a lot of traction. Incremental improvement is still improvement. So we're happy to see this going forward, and so we recommend this for all of these for approval.
Councilmember Overstreet.
I agree with you, and I've put in several stop signs as well, so I'm happy to see more because they've all been very successful. I know it is a learning curve for the communities, but they've been really, really working. Just got in a new one 2 weeks ago, and the community members are happy to take pictures of it and send it in and say thank you, and are noticing a big difference in the traffic flow. I've even heard of a trend now where some people are asking to remove stop lights and put in the stop signs, because what happens is a lot of people see a yellow light and they rush through the intersection, whereas with the four-way stops, everyone is required to stop. So in small neighborhoods, even in busy intersections, these stop signs have been really working for us. So I thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Is there a motion? Motion by Overstreet, second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Item number 10, the amendment removes Hollywood Road Northwest and Arnold Drive Northwest in the caption and all reference of the legislation.
Second, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Commissioner.
Yes, sir. We again support these. I forgot to share my second comment. I told you I had two, and I gave you one. I wanted to thank the ladies from Peyton Road. I know they've left, but they have driven me through that area numerous times. It's become really the model for traffic calming in the city. It's a very difficult road from a geometry perspective. It's a cut-through road, and it's a residential area. And our fight is how do we reclaim this for the citizens and the people who live there. And so we have many efforts that have actually been inspired by what we're learning on Peyton Road. So these all-way stops are just another tool in the toolbox. So,
Mr. Chair, may I sound the amended caption?
Please do.
Item number 10, 22-0-1286. An ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis as amended by Transportation Committee. An ordinance authorizing the mayor or designee to make the intersections of Hollywood Road Northwest and Main Street Northwest and the Riverside neighborhood an all-way stop control intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Motion to approve is amended by Juan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Now we will take items number 9, 11 through 16, 18, 19, 23 through 25, and 28 together as a block if there's no objection from the committee.
No objection.
Item number 9, 22-0-1285, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hill is authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Maldo Drive Northwest and Cardo Drive Northwest and Maldo Drive Northwest and Revere Drive Northwest in the Lincoln Homes neighborhood an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes. Item number 11, 22-0-1287, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hill is authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Hall Street Northwest, Ada Avenue Northwest, and Lookout Avenue Northwest in the Almond Park neighborhood an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 12, 22-0-1288, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hill is authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Bowler Road Northwest and Christopher's Walk Northwest in the Hanover West neighborhood an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 13, 22-0-1289, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hill is authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Collier Road Northwest and Hills Place Northwest in the Underwood Hills neighborhood an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 14, 22-0-1300, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Boulder Crest Drive Southeast and Winfield Avenue Southeast, Boulder Crest Drive Southeast and Black Oak Drive Southeast, an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes. Item number 15, 22-0-1301, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Finley Street Northeast and Whiteford Avenue Northeast an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 16, 22-0-1302, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Fowler Street Northeast and Norwood Avenue Northeast an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 18, 22-0-1304, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Wiley Street Southeast and Pearl Street Southeast an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 19, 22-0-1305, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Ridgecrest Road Northeast and McClendon Avenue Northeast an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. Item number 23, 22-0-1310, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the all-way stop control intersection of Foamwalk Street and Crumley Street Southwest to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install the mayor or his designee to make all-way stop control intersections at Allegheny Street and Rochelle Drive Southwest and Rochelle Drive and Beecher Street Southwest to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection. Item number 25, 22-0-1312, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersection of Walnut Street and MLK Jr. Drive Southwest and all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes. And item number 28, 22-0-1315, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Winston authorizing the mayor or his designee to make the intersections of Custer Avenue Southeast and Funston Street Southeast, Custer Avenue and Woodland Avenue Southeast, an all-way stop control intersection to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersections and for other purposes.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Dozier. Motion by Juan, second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are found favorable. And that takes us to item item number 17, and we can take items 17, 23, 20 through 23, and 26 together as a block.
Please do.
Item number 17, 22-0-1303, an ordinance by Councilmember Liliana Bakhtiari authorizing the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Howard Street Northeast and for other purposes. Item number 20, 22-0-1307, an ordinance by Councilman Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Rosa Street Southwest as specified and approved by the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. Item number 21, 22-0-1308, an ordinance by Councilman Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Anchor Terrace, Cahaba Drive, and Orlando Street Southwest as specified and approved by the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. Item number 22, 22-0-1309, an ordinance by Councilman Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Chappelle Road Southwest as specified and approved by the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. And item number 26, 22-0-113, an ordinance by Councilmember Jason Dozier authorizing the mayor or his designee to install traffic calming devices on Elizabeth Avenue, Westmont Road, West Ridge Road, and Lockwood Road Southwest as specified and approved by the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes.
Commissioner, any reflections?
So we certainly support all of these. The two comments I would share: one, it's always fun to see the Mosley Park neighborhood up there. That was actually our first self-installed group of speed tables. Mm-hmm. We may not have set any speed records, but they sure look good, and we want to do more like that. That leads to the second comment that the thing to always keep in mind expectation-wise is that we really amass, we're building next year's speed table list right now. So the ones that get approved then go into the funding cycle for next fiscal year. So generally speaking, they'll get funded. We then go out for bid to get a contractor, and it's really the first part, Q3 of the fiscal year, before the work really starts in earnest. So right now we're doing speed table installation from last year.
Great, and I assume another potential windfall in that effort would be if council members choose to use proposed bond funding for their districts for speed tables, that DOT could accelerate those in-house, separate from the list you're creating.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Juan.
Mine's an easy request. So when y'all come before us for budget hearings, if it would be helpful to know what the kind of that inventory list is of speed tables for FY23 and what the price tag for that is, so that to Councilmember Faroki's point, we can either make sure that there's appropriate funding or that we're making appropriate adjustments in our district money.
Yes, sir. And in fact, just a data point for you. Last year, actually the last 2 years, we've been able to fully fund the whole list. So I don't, we doubled the spending on speed tables, so I don't foresee any issues. I haven't looked at the list, but we've been fine the last 2 years.
Councilmember Dozier.
Thank you, Commissioner Rowan. And just, I guess, to alleviate a little bit of pressure on the list for FY23, I believe the traffic calming that our office is looking to push, we're looking to spend down our new funds to support that, to try to get that knocked out as soon as we can, because I know your team has been immensely helpful in even us being able to craft that list. I believe that list came from petitions that were previously submitted that we wanted to be able to action sooner or later, because that's something that there's just been a lot of demand for from our community. So I just really appreciate your office for your help.
And that really helps us, sir, because once the funding is available, then we can get moving.
Yeah.
And so we may end up with two lists. It'll be the bond-funded ones and the general fund-funded ones, and maybe three lists, the ones we try to do. We want to do a few more next year ourselves.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say your team have just been rock stars in this effort and getting us to the point we are today. So just want to give you some kudos in your leadership, and I look forward to working together to make our streets safer.
I'm just the pretty face, sir. They do all the work.
Do I hear a motion?
Yes, motion. Move.
Motion to approve by Dozier, second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are found favorable. That takes us to item number 27, 22-0-1314, an ordinance by council members of Mayor Faroki, Jason Dozier, Liliana Bakhtiari, and Matt Westmoreland launching the next era of Atlanta Streets Alive and authorizing the temporary closure of Peachtree Street between Mitchell Street and 14th Street one Sunday per month for 12 months from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. beginning January 15, 2023, and for other purposes.
Thank you. I am very excited, along with a handful of colleagues, including Councilmembers Dozier and Westmoreland on this committee, to bring this paper forward. This has been an ongoing conversation for a year or so. Last year, some folks may recall, we proposed a Peachtree Street, Streets Alive every Sunday for a year, and then talked to stakeholders and realized maybe that's too much. So we scaled back the proposal to one Sunday per month from 2 to 6 p.m. We met with stakeholders repeatedly over the last couple months, have taken a lot of input into account, and in conversations with DOT, looked at what a successful program would look like with respect to potentially hiring a third-party consultant to work with stakeholders where we need to maintain vehicular access while the corridor is shut down. But central to any successful program is funding, and we need to identify a funding mechanism that would support this. And so I'm going to move today to hold it while we do that and work with my colleagues in the administration to try and find the best path forward for something like this. I will also note, look, this is, very few ideas that come through this body or this city original. Cities around the country and the world are grappling with many of the same problems that we have, and this is not an original idea. But it's one that has flourished both in our city and in other cities in the country and around the world. I'll note, while not at Streets Alive, I saw today news that Mayor London Breed in San Francisco has worked with their city council to shut down JFK Street to cars permanently. And so there's a hunger, not only by residents, but also tourists, for activities like this that give streets back to people. But I'll also note this is a matter of our own competitiveness and how we attract people and businesses and retain our people in the city. Peachtree Street is our street. It's everyone in this room street. It's our living room to the world in many ways. If you come to Atlanta, you're spending time on Peachtree Street. And so even though the proposal sits in districts 4 and 2, this is really a citywide celebration. And so we'll continue to work with the administration and DOT to try and find a path forward on this, and with my colleagues. But today I will move to hold. I do notice there's some colleagues before we vote who'd like to speak. I will turn first to Councilmember Waits.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I also support your motion to hold. I've received a number of communications from the small business owners along that corridor that I'm deeply concerned about. So I'd like to see the fiscal impact for those individuals who will be impacted by that closure during that time frame.
And I'm happy to talk with them as well. We've had a number of stakeholder conversations with businesses big and small in the corridor. The data has shown time and time again that small businesses benefit by this streetlight, but happy to talk with the folks who've reached out to you. Councilmember Lewis.
I've been contacted by a lot of people in my district as well about the location. This is an amazing idea. I think we can do a lot of things with it, but I think that with the Atlanta Beltline with so many different areas, I think we can move it from just this one area. Another thing is that the cost. The ATL, DOT, Commissioner, and the stakeholders have said attendance is more like 50,000. And according to just why I support the holding, I got an email that said that I want to talk to this. ATL DOT said the attendance is 50,000. They said APD think that it's estimated in 20,000 range. And so with the cost of this, that's my reservation right now.
Thank you. I see you reading the talking points of the misleadingly named Smart Streets Atlanta, but thank you for your advocacy, Mr. Peterson. Councilmember Overstreet.
I really just wanted to say that this particular piece of legislation actually feels like a compromise from the legislation that we presented last year that was, really hard to swallow, with the Peachtree being closed every single Sunday for the year. So I am glad that we're looking into ways to make this something that the city could do in the future, because it's compromised from 4 Sundays to 1. And, it's a big change for us. So I'm glad we're taking another, couple weeks to look at it and answer some of these questions, and to just give out more data to the council members so that we'll be able to plot a course that's good for most, because nothing is ever good for everyone. So it'll be good for most.
Thank you, Councilmember Overstreet. Councilmember Lewis.
And my thing is, even with the compromise with 1 per month, we got 12 council districts. So I would like to be a part of the conversation, because District 12 would like to have it at least one of those months. Thank you.
So there's a motion to hold on the table. Did I hear a second? Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held. This takes us to Section J, Resolutions. Mr. Chair, if there is no objection from the committee, the department requests to take items number 29, 30, 31 together as a block. They're all encroachment agreements.
No objection.
Item number 29, 22R, 3429. A resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute an encroachment agreement with America's Mart Real Estate LLC for the purpose of installing a changing sign on a blank facade on the garage that partially cantilevers over the pedestrian sidewalk of the International Market Centers building located at 240 Peachtree Street Northwest, to support the Arts and Entertainment District Atlanta by sharing on the sign and revenue from the sign with the Atlanta Department of Atlanta Downtown Improvement District and for other purposes. Item number 30, 22R, 3430, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute an encroachment agreement with Jamestown Pond City Market LP for the purpose of installing permanent underground shoring and tiebacks into the Glen Iris Drive right-of-way at 675 Ponce de Leon Avenue Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30308, and for other purposes. Item number 31, 22R, 3431, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor's designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute an encroachment agreement with Peachtree Center Garage LLC for the purpose of installing a changing sign on the blank facade on the garage that partially cantilevers over the pedestrian sidewalk of the Peachtree Center Garage building located at 161 Peachtree Center Avenue Northeast, to support the Arts and Entertainment District Atlanta by sharing time on the sign and revenue from the sign with the Atlanta Downtown Improvement District and for other purposes.
Commissioner.
Yes, sir. These are standard encroachment agreements that have followed our internal process, all for essentially building improvements. So we support these and recommend them for approval.
Motion by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. These items are found favorable. Item number 32, 22R, 3432. A resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund for fiscal year 2022 in the amount not to exceed $12,000,000 for the use under 5 architectural and engineering design services contracts for services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. All services will be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Baydari.
As we continue to secure approval with our airline partners and project, this is just to supplement the 5 A&E firms that we have on call to add additional money on a task order basis for design work.
Motion by Juan, second by Lewis. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable. Item number 33, 22R, 3433, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund in the amount not to exceed $750,000.00 for the use to establish managing general contractor service contracts at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. All services will be charged to and paid from the council number listed herein and for other purposes.
This is to add money to the MGC managing general contractor to modernize the fourth floor. That hasn't been modernized for 22 years.
Motion by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is found favorable. Item number 34, 22R3434, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute an agreement for contract RFPS 1220072, landscape maintenance and debris control at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Ed Castro Landscape, Inc. on behalf of the Department of Aviation for 3 years in an amount not to exceed $2,988,000.00. All services will be charged to and paid from the fund, department, organization, and account number listed herein and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, this item needs to be amended to attach the IPRO report.
Motion to amend to attach the IPRO report by Councilmember Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
I will move to approve as amended. Is there a second? Second by Juan. Councilmember Westmoreland, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just a quick question. I have the same process question on this one as the next one. In both instances, so in the one that we're currently before us, 2 of the 3 respondents were found non-responsive, and then on the next one, 7 of the 9 were, or flip those around. On this one, 7 of the 9 were. Can you talk about why, and then how we can fix whatever issues are causing 80% of our people to be non-responsive?
I will have DOP address your question, Councilmember.
Thanks.
Morning. Philippe Jefferson, Procurement Manager for Department of Procurement. So 7 of the 9 were non-responsive. 5 of those were non-responsive because of OCC.
You might get a little bit closer to the microphone. Thank you.
Sorry. Failing to meet OCC standards. We try very hard to clearly define what the goals are that they need to meet during our pre-proposal conference. And then stated in the solicitation, we also try to provide all those documents for Appendix A. But a lot of that information is given during the conference.
Is there a difference between non-responsive and non-responsible?
There is a difference. What happens is when the solicitations come, or the proposals come in initially, DOP performs a responsive review. There are forms in the solicitation that we actually look at initially to determine whether they provided, very basic information. They signed it, notarized it, and those kinds of things. Then they go on to an evaluation phase. In that evaluation phase, there are 3 different evaluations that are conducted. OCC provides one, RISC provides one, and then the evaluators. If OCC or RISC determines, or even the evaluators determine that they didn't meet certain goals, then they become non-responsible. So just depending on the phase of the evaluation.
And what does it mean to not reach OCC goals?
If you look in the packet there, you'll see that OCC provided their evaluation. For those that did not meet the goals, it looks like many of those failed to list a certified SBE subcontractor. So.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lewis.
And my question is, when 80% of the folks are not going to be a part of the bid, and we're now choosing between 2, why don't we help those folks why don't we tell them what they're missing? Or why don't we rebid that? Is there a process for that? Because I also want to know the non-responsive minority rate. I want to know if folks are just missing a signing or just forgot to sign one sheet of paper that's a new sheet of paper. I want to know if those are minorities and that's why they're being disqualified.
That response would probably have to come from Office of Contract Compliance. Okay.
Greetings. CPO Clark. Councilman Lewis, generally, no, you're not going to see the MFBEs making these mistakes. They'll generally be prime contractors who will not provide the participation or fill out the Appendix A that they're required to do so. It's generally, you're not going to see it from the MFBEs.
So not from the primes, right? But a lot of times the primes aren't Georgia or Atlanta companies. Those are huge corporations that come in, then they subcontract with us. So I just want to know, like, if the minority rate for folks who are non-responsive out of that 7 to 9, if 7 of them are minorities and the only 2 that got through were not minorities, that's an issue to me.
Sure, and I can certainly reach out to OCC to try to get you that data, but I will almost guarantee you, Councilman Lewis, that you will not find that to be the case. Primarily, it's going to be majority firms that have not conformed to the participation goals that have been asked of them. And I also want to stress, very important, folks, that the Office of Contract Compliance is very heavy in their clarity, sir, during these pre-bids, that these are the items that are expected by the City of Atlanta. And so they have fair warning that when they submit these bids, that this is an expectation by the City of Atlanta.
But they've been coming to me saying that I've spoken to some of them, and so they've been coming to us and they're saying that they missing some new stuff that just came out. So that's why I'm glad I'm in favor. I'm in support of holding this paper.
We have a motion on the floor to approve by motion by Faroki, second by Juan. I'll note, for clarity's sake, I guess I won't make assumptions, but is the winning bidder here, Ed Castro Landscape, a minority-owned business? Yes.
Actually, I don't think they are.
No,
they are not.
Okay.
They are not.
Yeah. Well, there's a motion on the floor. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 1 abstention. This item is favorable as amended.
Next item. Yeah.
Item number 35, 22R, 3435, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the Department of Aviation to enter into an appropriate contractual agreement with SP Plus Red Bridge Joint Venture for RFPS 1220141, parking operation management services at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport in the amount of $2,473,996.71. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this item needs to be held in order to receive the IPO report.
Mr. Badar, any comment?
No, sir. We're waiting the IPO.
Okay. Motion to hold by Juan, second by Faroki. Councilmember Waits, the floor is yours.
I'm fully in support of the hold as well, but I'd also like to, the next time we hear this particular piece of legislation, I'd like to hear from procurement as well as OCC and the general manager surrounding the process. Thank you, sir.
Yep. So when this item comes back to us with the IPRO report, we'd ask that procurement and obviously aviation be in the room as well. Yeah. Thank you. Motion by Juan, second by Faroki, I believe. Please open the vote to hold.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held. Item number 36, 22R, 3436, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to accept a lessee's name change from Signature Flight Support Corporation to Signature Flight Support LLC and to execute the appropriate documents for said name change, consenting to a sublease between Signature Flight Support LLC and the Private Suite ATL LLC in accordance with a City of Atlanta lease, authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the appropriate documents evidencing the city's consent to sublease and for other purposes.
Mr. Badari.
This is a name change, and they want to sublease element of a part of the signature flight support facility to a tenant to open up a VIP or VVIP facility. There's no change to contract obligation term or gross revenue percentage.
Thank you. Councilor Juan.
This is just a random question. Do we have documentation of their actual name change? Do y'all have that? It's not part of the package. I'm just curious.
Once this resolution is approved, we'll go through that.
Isn't that putting the cart before the horse? I mean, shouldn't they provide us documentation that they changed before we change the contract name? No, but maybe on condition.
The issue of the information is...
I'll make a motion to move this forward on condition of getting that documentation. I just think that's probably good form to do.
A motion from Juan, a second from Lewis to approve on condition. If aviation would like to add further clarity, you're welcome to. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, so there's a motion before us to approve on condition, the condition being that you provide evidence that the name change has occurred and y'all have been properly notified of that name change?
We will.
Okay, thank you. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on condition. Item number 37, 22R 3437, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to award and execute a concessions lease agreement in response to RFP S1220076 Concourse T North Food and Beverage Retail Concessions with Paradies Lagarderie at ATL T North LLC for food and beverage and retail locations at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes. And Mr. Chair, this item needs to be amended to attach the IPO report.
Motion by Juan, second by Faroki. Please open the vote to amend to include the IPO report.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Motion to approve by Overstreet, second by Faroki.
Been a long morning.
The vote is open.
Having so much fun, I want to prolong the meeting.
Will everyone please vote? The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. And Mr. Chair, we have one item coming off held. Item number 41.
Please read it in.
Just before you go, is this approved? This approved?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bayadari, and to the whole aviation team. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item number 41, 22-0-1246, an ordinance by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits to erect historical markers to memorialize the 1906 Atlanta Race Massacre to be installed at 112 Cortlandt Street Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30303, and 35 Gammon Avenue Southeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30315, and for other purposes.
Councilmember Waits, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, sir. The organizer is here with us this morning, is it afternoon? And the organizations have taken the opportunity to meet with the impacted council members for Gammon as well as Cortlandt Street in addition to the NPU organizations. So it's my understanding that the paper has been socialized well and that we have tremendous support. And so I'm simply moving. In fact, there was a presentation that's been handed out to this body. So I'd like to move for favorable approval.
Motion by Waits. Councilmember Lewis.
Councilmember Waits, would you be okay with me changing this to add my name to it?
Absolutely, sir.
All right, thank you.
So as part of this amendment, we'll amend it to include Councilmember Lewis's name. I do want to ask DOT to come forward, if you don't mind. I know there's been some conversations that have included DOT, CAP, and other impacted areas that, assuming we move this forward, the DOT will work with the organization to make sure that placement of these markers meets ADA requirements, any visibility issues, et cetera.
Yes, sir. So again, Josh Rowan, Atlanta Department of Transportation. Generally, we provide quite a bit of hand-holding on these. It's a standard encroachment agreement. The things we have to watch out for are actually utilities in the right-of-way, and then that we're not creating any sort of tripping hazard. At the end of the day, it comes down to what the monuments are, how they're designed. Our preference is to have them out of the sidewalks, but those are details we can definitely work out with the team who's preparing these.
Great, thank you. I think we have a motion from Waits. Was there a second? Second by Dozier to approve. We don't have to formally move this off of held, right? We can just vote it up or down. All right, so motion to approve for item number 41.
Chair, we had to amend this item to add Councilmember Lewis's name.
Motion to amend to include Councilmember Lewis's name in the caption. Second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 7 yeas, 0 nays. This item is amended.
I will move to approve as amended. Can I get a second? Second by Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
Councilmember Westmoreland, you're recognized.
Thank you. Did we talk to the impacted MPUs about this, and do we normally do that? And if we do, did we do that here? I'm unfamiliar with these signs because
I don't know. I will maybe defer to the representative.
We did talk to the NPUs that will be impacted through email, and they were in support. Do I need to go?
And Councilmember Westmoreland, I also did that due diligence as well in working with Central Atlanta Progress at the recommendation of Chair Faroki to ensure that all stakeholders were well versed and were given presentations surrounding this particular project. Thank you for the question.
All right, that has passed. I believe that's our last legislative item for the day. We have come to the end of the meeting. Any final comments or announcements from the body? Before we adjourn, I'll just note we look forward to seeing most, if not all of us, at the airport on Friday morning. Thank you all.